Good evening. Just a quick video tonight talking about signaling again. The feather signal. Let's have a quick look at that first and then we'll get on to some other things. Come on. You might have noticed that I have found this signal to be much more useful than I ever thought it would be. So what it's doing there is telling me that if a train comes along this way, not only can it go and not derail, but that it's going to cross over to this track. Now, if I'm driving the trains, that is incredibly useful to know. In fact, I have driven trains and stopped at this signal because it's not indicating that I can go where I want to go with it. So let's see what I had as a problem. So the other day, a train came this way. There was no trains coming, but that signal was indicating just as it is. Essentially what it was saying is I was safe to drive along here, which was true, to cross over this point, which was true, and then to get to this junction, and these points here in the double slip were set for me to cross over, which was true. However, this point here, in that instance, was set for straight on. And me coming along that way then would have derailed here. Well, that's no good, is it? So all I've done is extended the yellow wires temporarily onto this point as well, so that now if that point changes, I will get a red signal. So that was the point changing. So all of the points on this track are still set for me to cross over to that one. It's just that the receiving point, as it were, has now gone to let's derail you if you happen to go from here. So the signal has made one more step in the right direction. Lovely. Now, the other day, I was talking about this semaphore signal here. We're going to take it off the board, and it's stuck on with a bit of tack under it so that it doesn't drift and get clobbered. And we're going to have a quick look at that. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to have a play. Ah, yes, and as I sit down, I remember that this was the circuit diagram I gave you for the timing circuit. I also pointed out that timing is a horrible way of making signals change from red back to green again. I even left a carriage there to show you that it's really not a good idea. However, somewhere we have to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, that's good enough for now, and we'll move on and make it better later. But for now, if you do want that timing circuit, don't use this one. This is the one I showed you. I'll go over what happened. Let me just put the camera down. There we go. So what happened then was that light falling on this light dependent resistor would change the resistance there, or light or not light, would change the resistance here, drawing the base either to ground or, if this went high, up to rail. And what was actually happening is that because of the value of this resistor, once this transistor was forced hard on, lots of current flew down that track there, and this thing let off a yelp, as did I when I touched it, because it was really rather hot. So we're not going to do that. Not a good idea. This is a continuation of a circuit that I had matched with something else. So let's make it simpler. All I've done, if you look at the two, is pulled out the transistor, made it a whole lot simpler. The formula that I gave you, 1.1 times this times that, where that's in farads, that's in ohms, still works. And I've said use something that is smaller than 1,000 microfarad and just up that. They start getting inaccurate once you get to there. This is for about 11 seconds. So all we're doing here, the trigger doesn't mind, it doesn't need current, it just needs a few volts. I've not put a value on that specifically because at one end it is 0. Do you see that? And at the other end, it will be whatever you need. So you can put a big old thing in there if you don't mind working at one end. The issue I was having with the light dependent resistors is I have a whole batch of different ones all thrown into the same box. The values are important. What is the value in ambient light? What is the value with no light? And what does it do? So if the resistance, whatever's going on there, if the resistance goes low, then the 9 volts, I didn't put that on. Let me do that for you. There we are. So as that resistor goes low, this potential divider, do you see it's dividing? So if this were 100K and that were 100K, you'd get 4.5 volts in the middle. Do you see it? There is a trigger point, a voltage that this pin 2 needs to trigger this whole thing to work. And all this is doing is these 2 resistors, for that is what that is just setting the center point. So by increasing the volts here, you make this thing needing to go less far down to bring a higher voltage there, if you see what I mean. I've simply moved, the last circuit had the LDR base to ground. This has got it trigger to rail. So that works a whole lot better. It's a lot simpler. As I said too, I have put I think a 47K resistor in the base of that transistor. It was to stop some of the false triggers. You can do that too by adding a little capacitor. If I put 5 there, pin 5, just put a little itty bitty capacitor in there. That works too. I'm not going to put a value on it, but nanofarads, something really tiny. That does the same job. So that was the timing circuit, and all that happens then, once this triggers, that relay will come on because the output from pin 3 drives the transistor on, which makes current flow through the transistor, triggers the relay. Ooh, look what I haven't done on either diagram. We need a diode across that. I'll draw it across it like that. 1N4001. The 1N4001 simply implies that that can carry 1 amp. If it was 002, it would be bigger and could carry 2 amps. That's how that works. But that's just across the relay. The relay then breaks the circuit when it gets a trigger. So as the train goes over this, casts a shadow on it, this drops, this triggers breaking the circuit. So that's how that works. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I shall put those away. That's not what we came to do today. We came to have a look at one of these, didn't we? I've had a look at prices. How much can you get one of these for? They're the 3 prices I found. That's ridiculous. $56. These are in dollars, but $56, $27, and $22. I believe the 22 was Rails of Sheffield. So on the 3 I looked at, they're the cheapest. I'm sure you can pick these up cheaper than that. I've got a few of them kicking around. I think every model railway does in various forms. I think this is the earlier form. It's also, whoopsie, it's a shorter form too. I wonder what that's about. I like I will say I like the height of this one better. Is this Hornby? It's got to be. Well, the base is Hornby. Whether or not the rest of it is another matter. I think it is, just an earlier version. So now they're much taller, apparently. But the old version works just well. This is the one I'm going to play with today, the old one. There's bits missing. Now, you can see the bits that are missing. The ladder, for a start. Although the ladder went on the other side there. Look, it used to go... No. It's a bit broken up anyway. But we're going to play with this one. This is going to be proof of concept. I'll show you what I'm on in a second, but if it works on this, and this would be perfectly all right on the layout, then we'll perhaps play with this one. Now this one has clearly been, the design has changed. And if you look down here, there's a little loopy that makes the signal go up and down. I'm sure that they intended to add a point motor or something to make that happen. I've never seen them, but I'm sure that's the case. As I said, I've got a few bits and pieces here. Some of them are glue all over them. The wire is missing from the top and the arm is missing at the bottom. I notice a little crack in there. Can you see that? The crack in the housing there. And at the top, a piece of the ladder frame. These are from a junk box I bought somewhere. But the arm is good. Now, the way these things work, you can actually pull that pin out. There's a little loop in the end there, do you see it? Now, what I'm looking for first is, does the lantern behind here, the simulated lantern, you see it? It's not a very good simulation of a lantern in Hornby, but nevertheless, does it line up? So if I point at it there and lift the signal, well, we don't know. We're going to have to look at the new one for that, or the newer one. So if I point at the green light there, pointing at the center of the green light when it's up, does it point at the red light when it's down? I think it does. It should, but more or less. So what I'm intending to do is to drill through this part here and put a piece of fiber optic cable down the ladder and out through the base. It does have a hole in it already. Do you see that? A molding hole. Do you see? If I just drill through that, why don't I just do that while I'm here? So if we just drill through that, what have we got to lose? One of the questions I often ask when we're trying things like this. Now, there's probably a YouTube channel out there that's already done this, and I'm just late to the party or something. So what I'm doing here, now I need some light on me. Let's get some light over here. That might be better. I think it's probably better for you. So I'm going to drill through there and see if I can't make a little hole through it. This is all an extension of that idea I had of using fiber optics to make the signal work. This is taking longer to drill through than it should. Can't be that strong, surely. I'll get the power drill out to you. Except the power drill won't hold that bit. We're almost through there. Do you see that? Now we're through. So the worst that can happen in this instance is nothing, because you would never notice unless I showed you. A little chat whilst I'm just tidying up a little bit. Full transparency here. I typically make these videos in real time. So a lot of you, I got another question the other day. How long do you spend making videos when you're putting them out every other day? Well, actually, I'm only down here about an hour. I limit myself to about an hour a day. And most of what I do is real time, and you see it as it happens. Now, I'll tell you what I just did. I turned the camera off while I went and, whoopsie, you can't see what's going on over here, because I've just went and wet my soldering iron sponge. I use a wet sponge. It's over there, look, beside us. Now, why am I telling you all this? Well, usually I would have just shown you me doing that, but I'd cut a piece of fiber optic. You didn't need to see me do that. So most things, I just turn the camera off and go get something. so you're not looking at nothing. But here's the thing, I came back and it had gone. So I cut another piece and then needed to get a couple of 1K resistors. There they are, they're right behind me. But again, I turned the camera off and again, this had gone. So somewhere there is a pile of this fiber optic gathering that we will eventually find. Now then, what am I up to? Well, I'm fairly confident that this is going to work. The hole is just a little bit bigger than the fiber optic. What I'm going to do is tuck it through. And you've seen me do this once before. You just put the hot soldering iron body on the back end of it. I don't know if you can see what's happening other than me burn my fingers. And it just opens the, I'll try and show you this, but it is kind of difficult to see. So the end of the fiber optic then has, because I've mushed it with a, can you see that? I've mushed it with the soldering iron. Let me try and get it in focus. There we are. It's made a flat, like conical end on it. There's a wispy on it, which I'll pull off in a minute. It does two things. First of all, it gives a diffused end. And the second thing it does is stops it coming back through the hole. So there we are. Now all I've got to do now is tuck that down the frame. I will also have to drill out the back of the signal. So what I'm doing now is running the drill through it and just marking where that hole needs to be. Did it mark it? It did. And in the up position, I'm going to say 45 degrees is up, and go through it again for the green. Did that mark it? It did. And now what I have to do, of course, is take that off the mast. So the way we're going to do that is a pair of cutters underneath the pip. Not cut the pip off, but I know that you can just wiggle these out. There it comes. See it? That's the pip that comes out. And there's the signal arm. Now, I've now got two marks on the back of it, and I'm going to drill through those. I'm going to use a power drill and a slightly bigger drill than the one that was in there. Not much bigger, but some bigger. I know you want to watch the mistakes, so I'll hold it. I'm putting my finger on it and holding it. Let's do the red one first. Doesn't look as nice as I had hoped, but we will carry on regardless. Now, we're through. Now I'm going to clean that up with a file. There's my files. Again, I do sometimes, people have been asking, that's why I'm going on about it today. I do sometimes turn the camera off, so on a shot like that I could turn the camera off because nothing would change. So I do sometimes do that just to cut out some of the dead space, but not today. Everything is going to be real time. Ooh, I'm going to have to be careful with that. I want to clean it up, but I do not want to scratch the surface. He says running a file over the surface. There's a nasty burr there, which I know would end up in my finger if I don't do something about it. Well, another way of doing it is by using a very much bigger drill and just using that as a deburring tool. The red hasn't landed where I'd hoped on this side, you see, but I think it's going to work nonetheless. There we go, that's got rid of the nasties. So now I've got to put it all back together again. May have drilled those holes too big. This is on one, you notice I haven't attempted to use the good one. But now I'm threading I've lost it. I had fiber optic in my hand and now it's gone. This stuff is magic. Here it is again. Do you like my magic tricks? It had fallen on the floor. It's probably where the other bit is. So what I've done there is pulled that back through. Now you can see it, do you see? So just touching the end of that fiber optic with the soldering iron has done that to it. Still a little bit of a spike on it, but anyway. Do you see that? So a little bit of glue on that, and that would stay in place. And it bends nicely enough down the channel in the back of the signal. But I'm not going to glue it right now. What I'm going to do is put everything back together and see if this actually works. So now all I have to do, these are just a friction fit. Shove that in the hole there. And lean on it a bit with the back of the cutters. That's it. Now, we're just going to pretend that goes where it needs to. The next thing we're going to need to do is a little bit of soldering. I'm just going to solder two 1K resistors and a bit of wire, or one 1K resistor and a bit of wire onto these three legs of this red-green LED. So I will get the bits I need and be right back to you. All right, so there's the setup. There's a battery here with a couple of cables on it. I didn't know this, but I suspected the middle would be common. It's a common negative, and the negative for once is the longest cable. So if we there's the LED. If we put a connection to one side, it will go green, and the other side red. Piece of heat shrink over the end. This is okay, so it's red, but it doesn't matter. It's 3-to-1, and although this this stuff is fairly small, I'm hoping that is going to at least attempt to grasp it. A way of making sure it does would be to put a flat on the end of it with the soldering iron. I don't think that's going to adversely affect anything. And then I'll get the heat shrink out and join it all up. Well, there's the end result. I think some of it melted in there. That's quite all right. I'm sure it will work. We'll try it in a second. So I've got an LED jammed in one end. I melted the end of the heat shrink. You could just dump a bit of glue on it, and as long as the glue were translucent, you'd be fine. Now let's see if this works. So what I'm going to do now is lay the signal down so you can see it. So now we've got two holes in it. At a glance, I mean, we're really close, but at a glance you wouldn't notice this. And of course you've got to get the right colours. So there's nothing going up there except that one piece of fibre optic. Now I suppose you could put the LED up there and run 3 wires down it, but this is, to me, a whole lot less hassle. Well, that's no good. It's giving us a green signal. But the principle's working. Let's find the red one. Hang on. Where are we? You see that it is on at least. Now when the signal goes up, You're going to have to hold it in place. You would have to arrange... Where's the green? There we go. And then when it comes down, it goes red. Up, green, down, red. Now, here's the thing. Is it hugely effective? Of course it isn't. But at any distance on the layout, it's going to look like a ratty old signal. You can still see that they're green and red. It's got two holes in it. Maybe I could flip it up the other way and paint everything back there black. That'd probably be a good idea. But in principle, this thing is working. Now then, let's talk about Arduino and how do we make the signal work. Oh my, well, not quite at that speed, but you see exactly what I'm on there. That wasn't difficult, was it? And down it goes again. So we know how to do it. We find a way of programming one of these cheap servos to attach to the signal to make the signal go up and down. Arduino is ideal for this because it'll also give two different outputs which could trigger those LEDs. So as the signal goes up, the LED changes from red to green. Now, do you need to use fiber optic? Of course you don't. Could you put the LED at the top? Yeah. It's a bit big in my view. Even without trying very hard, that fiber optic is very difficult to see and easy to hide. You can see there's a channel there. On the new ones, you could, yeah, there's a channel there. Look, you see the same? Or you could run it down in between the rungs of the ladder even. I'm going to turn it around, see what it looks like lit up. Now this is of course from the back. Now I haven't stuck in the fiber optic, but I could. Let's find power it up and see if it works. Come on, out of the way, solenoid. Well, that's lit green. If you can see that, the green one is on, but there's precious little. You can't see the green light coming up the fiber optic, nor the red, but that is on. You don't believe me, do you? Look, it is. So there we go, a real-time video for you. No faffing around editing. Just showing you that you can make the Hornby cheapo signals work. You've got to be brave and take them to bits. I wondered, here's where I was, I wondered if the lamp fitting behind there was actually going to line up with the fake lenses. But yeah, it sort of kind of does. And I think with a little bit of extra work, you could do better. I could do better at that. I mean, I'm not saying that's brilliant, but it does work. I think a bit of black paint in the background, grey paint probably works better. But yeah, there's an idea for you. Well, there we go. For now, we're popping that signal back on the layout. I know it's not right, but it'll do until we get something better. The next thing will be, you can see I've been thinking about signaling, will be to get that one there, that's our one with the feather, to go yellow. See, I said it right this time. Orange and DD, and no, get it to go yellow when the section ahead is clear. But yeah, by now you might be asking, doesn't he ever finish anything? Well, yes, I do. But that idea, to implement that idea would obviously take me a whole evening, and I've been down here, what, half an hour, and plenty of things to do, not enough hours in a day. So let's just talk about Arduino projects. This is the next one, getting the teddy bear to come into the woohoo and wave, or at least appear in the window up there in the toy museum. While I'm there, I'll paint the roof of the pub so that we don't get the northern lights shining out of the roof. So that's another thing I've got to do up there. Somebody asked about pillar boxes. There is one to go there. I've got one somewhere. And phone boxes. I don't have any on the layout. I've had a look around and I don't have one. The only one I have, of course, is the obligatory TARDIS. Now, what a lovely surprise. Look at this. We are at the inn, and I really like that sign. You might remember me struggling to get that working. And there is a pillar box there. Annoyingly, the post office is right there, and there's another pillar box in the wall of the post office. But look what's hiding around the corner there. So there is one. There is a red phone box. It's a bit out of the way over there. I think that's stuck on and it's hiding something, but I don't remember what. This end of the layout, we haven't been down here for a while. Nothing's breaking on it. So I'm leaving it alone. I have to reconsider my scratch-built signal box because it doesn't look like a signal box. It's too fat. But yes, I've still got to mess with that. The next Arduino project, which is why I came up here, is to get these gates to do their thing. This is after the teddy bear. And once we've done that, then we can perhaps talk about making a few signals work. There is, you might notice, a few bits of bent wire. Do you see this? And a few bits and bobs and washers and who knows what. So you never know what I might have been doing in the background just to have a look-see. I'll tell you what the big problem is. There's a track down there. This is the other incline, and it's right underneath that level crossing, which is up there. And so there simply isn't room down here just to mount everything under the board. The reality is I think the track is here, but that's one of the things we're going to have to figure out. Another thing we had to figure out was how to get this thing to sense a train coming. Well, now we know trains are only going to come around this way on that reversing loop because we've got right side running implemented. So there's a track section over there. So once a train enters that section, we will then make the gates do that to let the train through. And then once the end of the train has passed here, we'll find a way of doing that. The gates would change again. So yes, that's what I'm intending. I missed the signal going from green filter to red as I set the track for the class 40 coming the other way. But nevertheless, there goes the 40. And it's had to stop. Why has it stopped, Ian? Well, because I asked it to. And I want to see where, because we're planning signals around this curve, I want to see where each train stops. And I think because that section is absolutely colossally long, it changes. So we would have to, there was one that stopped back here. So the signal, we've either got to sort out where the trains stop or where the signal goes, one of the two. Now that train would need that signal to change. But it's heading off over the junction. I'm not sure why it's done that. That's interesting. Oh, I do know. And that's going to be part of its regular route because it has to come in that side because it's coming into the platform here. And stopping right under the canopy. You see that? Lovely. So that train will shuttle from that platform back to the bay platform, or where the see the green train down there, there's a school's locomotive on the front of that, or into that platform. But I think we've got to be prepared for this one as well. There it goes, taking off. Now this one already slows down quite significantly as it comes into that section. There's a bit of programming that's gone into this one. Crosses over, passes the signal box, and heads into the bay platform. And that one has been set up nicely. You see where it stops? It will consistently do that. So that's lovely. Now, since I pointed out that that's me taking train spotting lessons from my bigger friend, one of you suggested, why not have you on the platform somewhere with your dog? Well, that's not me, but I've got several dogs, so I'm going to have to find a me to put on the platform with a couple of dogs, aren't I? Well, I hope my ramblings about signals and fiber optics and who knows what were interesting to some of you. The signal board over on the semaphore board over there, people have asked, is it real? I made it years ago. I think it's actually black and white on the other side. I'll turn it round one time and see if you notice. I know some of you were wanting to see this get finished. It will. It's just another of the many half-finished projects that I've got going. Somebody talked about plaster bandage and I haven't used it. Yeah, I have used it. It's actually used in one of those two hills there. I think the furthest one uses it. And I am going to use it on this, so you'll get to see me do that. I just didn't want to get in a big old mess tonight. In fact, I promised my wife I wouldn't. She said, please don't get in another big mess. So I have followed instructions diligently. Thanks for your ongoing support. If you'd like to help out with the layout, there is a Ko-fi link. Also, channel members get to see the videos a couple of days earlier than everybody else. Another one coming up here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see what we actually finish the next time we visit the railway. See you in a couple of days. Bye now.